I stood at the edge of the room, watching them whisper. They laughed, raised glasses, clinked their wine like this was the happiest day of the year. Strangers smiled at me politely, but their eyes didn't linger. Because she hadn't told them Emma existed. My own mother, the one who raised me, who babysat my daughter when I was desperate, had erased my child from her picture-perfect version of this night. If I had known what she was planning, I never would have let my guard down that night. My name is Lily. I'm 34, a single mom, and a freelance graphic designer. Most days, I juggle deadlines, therapy appointments, and packing snacks into tiny containers with cartoon faces. It's not easy, but I wouldn't trade my life for anything because of her. Emma is 8 years old. She has sparkling hazel eyes, a huge laugh, and a fire in her spirit. She also has cerebral palsy. She uses a wheelchair, but she moves through life with more joy than most people I know. She sings constantly, even if it's off-key, and signs her words with her hands in little dances. Emma is my world, but she isn't my mother's. Growing up, my mom, Darlene, was the type who ironed napkins and screamed if I got AB+. She loved appearances. Our family photos were color-coordinated. She'd bake cookies for charity events, but scream at us the moment guests left. I learned early that her love had rules. You smiled. You looked nice. You didn't make scenes. And you never made her look bad. When Emma was born, I prayed things would be different. At first, Mom played the part. She sent flowers. She took selfies with Emma as a baby, posted them online with captions like, "My brave girls." But once the diagnosis came in, once the therapy visits became weekly and the wheelchair replaced her stroller, my mother started pulling away. "Oh, poor baby," she'd say through tight lips. "Are you sure it's not just a delay?" But I didn't fight her. I was too tired, too scared of losing the only family I had left. Last month, she called me, her voice bright and sugary like always. "We're planning a big anniversary celebration. 35 years of marriage. Can you believe it?" She asked me to help with the invitations. The venue was some fancy garden place she found on Instagram. Everyone was going to be there, cousins flying in, family friends, old neighbors. She wanted it to be elegant. She wanted it perfect. Emma and I spent a whole Saturday making decorations. She used glitter glue to write "Happy Anniversary Grandma and Grandpa" on a banner. She was so excited. And I was just happy to be included, to feel like we were part of the family again. I should have known better. One evening, I was finalizing the seating chart on my mom's laptop while she stepped out to take a call. I wasn't snooping. I was literally the one editing it. But as I scrolled through the guest list, my stomach dropped. There was no seat for Emma. My hands froze on the keyboard. I refreshed the document, thinking maybe it hadn't been saved. Maybe it was a mistake. But it wasn't. Emma's name wasn't missing. She'd been left out. That night, I tucked Emma into bed. She held her little stuffed fox and asked, "Do I get to wear a dress like you for Grandma's party?" I smiled and nodded. "Of course, baby. You'll wear whatever you want." But something inside me was already breaking. Because the truth was, my mom had planned a party where my daughter didn't even exist. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, watching the ceiling fan spin shadows across the room. My mind kept circling the same question. Why? Why would she erase Emma like that? She'd seen the decorations Emma made. She smiled when Emma showed her the glitter-covered banner. She nodded and said, "So sweet." Was that a lie? Was she always planning to leave her out? The next morning I called her. She picked up on the second ring, cheerful as ever. "Hi, sweetie. Aren't those garden roses I sent you gorgeous?" I didn't waste time. "Mom, I saw the guest list. Emma's name isn't on it." There was a pause, just long enough to feel like a slap. "Oh, right. That." I felt the anger rise in my throat. That was your granddaughter." "What do you mean that?" She sighed like I was being dramatic. "Lily, the venue isn't. Well, it's not exactly designed for wheelchairs, okay? The paths are gravel, there's a narrow stage, lots of walking. It's just not comfortable for her. Then why didn't you say that when I asked to bring her? She hesitated again, but her voice dropped to that sharp, cold tone I knew too well. The one she used when she didn't want to be challenged. Because I knew you'd make this about you. Or her. This party is supposed to be elegant. A once-in-a-lifetime memory. I'm not risking it becoming a spectacle. A spectacle. My chest clenched. I blinked, stunned into silence. She's 8, Mom. She's a child. She's not a spectacle, she's family. She didn't even flinch. People paid to be surrounded by elegance, not pity. I didn't realize I was crying until my voice broke. So, you'd rather hide your own granddaughter than risk her ruining the aesthetic? It's not about hiding her. You never include her, Mom. You never do.
And it was true.
It wasn't just this party. It was Christmas 2 years ago when Emma had a cold and was coughing. My mom told me to just come by yourself so we don't upset the guests. It was my cousin's baby shower when she asked me to leave Emma with a sitter because it's hard for people to relax around that kind of energy. It was the way she avoided posting photos of Emma on social media unless she could crop out the wheelchair. I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge like it might offer answers. I felt cold all over. A part of me wanted to pretend this wasn't happening. To still show up.
To keep the peace.
That's what I was trained to do, be the easy daughter, the one who didn't fight back. But I couldn't be that anymore. Later that evening, Emma sat at the table drawing in her notebook. She had a big purple crayon clutched in her hand, and she was singing quietly to herself. Mommy, she said suddenly, not looking up, do I get to wear my sparkly dress for Grandma's party? I felt my stomach drop. My throat tightened so fast, I couldn't speak right away. I knelt beside her and tucked a curl behind her ear. Of course, baby, I whispered. You'll wear whatever you want. Then she looked up at me with those big eyes, wide and clear and full of love. Did I do something wrong, Mommy? That one sentence broke me. I barely made it to the bathroom before I fell apart. I locked the door and slid down the wall, my hands pressed over my mouth to stop the sobs from getting too loud. I cried until I couldn't breathe, until my hands went numb, until I didn't even know if I was angry or just shattered. All I could think was, how dare she? How dare my own mother make my daughter feel like this? How many other times had Emma been left out and just didn't ask? How many other silent wounds had she collected, too young to name them, too kind to complain? I looked at my own reflection in the mirror, eyes red, cheeks blotchy, heart torn. I whispered to myself, not again, not this time. The next morning, I made pancakes for Emma. She wanted to help, so I let her stir the batter from her seat at the table while I added chocolate chips. Her laughter filled the kitchen like sunlight. But all I could think about was how she had asked if she'd done something wrong. That question kept echoing in my chest like a bruise I couldn't rub away. I couldn't eat. I just kept smiling, pretending to be okay for her. But inside, something had shifted. Something hard and old had finally cracked. I called my mom again later that day. Not to beg, to see if there was any chance, any sliver of guilt, any apology waiting to slip through. Her voice was even colder this time. I don't want to argue about this again, Lily. You're blowing things out of proportion, she said flatly. She's your granddaughter, I replied, trying to keep my voice from shaking. And this is my party, she snapped. I won't have it ruined because you can't separate your child from everything else. That was it. That was the moment. I took a deep breath. The words came before I had time to soften them. If she's not invited, then I'm not coming either, I said, steady but firm. Lily, don't be dramatic. Her voice rose in irritation. You made this choice, Mom. Not me. I cut in. You think punishing your daughter is the right move? she asked, her tone dripping with disbelief. No, I said quietly. I'm protecting her. She exhaled sharply, almost like a hiss. You always were the emotional one, she muttered. I hung up, and this time I didn't cry. That night, after Emma fell asleep hugging her fox, I sat on the couch and opened a bottle of wine. I didn't even like wine, but it made the quiet feel less sharp. I thought about everything. About the times I let things slide. About the moments I bit my tongue because it's not worth the fight. About the look in Emma's eyes when she asked if she'd done something wrong. What am I teaching her? I thought if I let this happen. A knock pulled me from my thoughts. It was Tara, my younger sister. She came in without asking, holding a box of decorations. So, she said, closing the door behind her. Tell me what's going on before Mom gives me her version. I told her everything. The seating chart, the phone call, the words. She called her a spectacle, Tara. My daughter. A spectacle, I said, my voice catching. Tara sat down slowly. Her face was unreadable for a moment. Then she said softly, I believe you. My throat tightened. You always said I was overreacting. You always told me to just let it go. I reminded her. I know, she whispered. I was scared to stand up to her. But this crossed a line. She opened the box. Inside were the decorations Emma had made. I took them home after I saw Mom throw them in the trash, Tara said quietly. I stared at her, stunned. She what? I asked, my voice barely a breath. Said they looked childish, she replied, shaking her head. Said she didn't want glitter on the walls. I covered my mouth, my heart pounding in my chest. She didn't even tell me, I whispered. She wasn't going to, Tara said. She didn't want you to know. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Tara spoke again. So, what are you going to do? She asked gently. I looked over at the box. At the glitter hearts and crooked letters. Emma's little handprints in pink paint. I'm not staying silent, I said slowly. You're going to crash the party? Tara raised an eyebrow. No, I said with a bitter smile. I'm going to take the stage. Tara blinked. What does that mean? She wants a perfect party, I said. Then let's give her a perfect show. At that moment, I felt it. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to win my mother's love. I was trying to protect my daughter's dignity.
And that
was worth everything. The next morning, I woke up with a different kind of energy in my chest. It wasn't anger anymore. It was for a purpose. I made Emma her favorite breakfast, banana pancakes with too much syrup, and sat with her while she told me all about a dream where she rode a unicorn over a rainbow. She had no idea what I was planning, and that made it even more important. Later that day, I met Tara at a quiet cafe across town. She ordered coffee for both of us and slid into the booth with a notepad. So, she said, glancing around like we were plotting a heist, you're serious about this? You really want to go through with it? Dead serious, I said, stirring my coffee.
She doesn't just deserve to be there.
She deserves to be seen. Tara nodded slowly. All right. Then let's give her a spotlight. The idea came fast once we started. We knew there was a stage at the venue. My mom had hired a string quartet to play during dinner. But there was a small intermission, 10 minutes between the meal and the toast. That's when we'd make our move. Emma loves that Disney song she sings all the time, Tara said, scribbling on her notepad. What if she performed it? I smiled. She knows every word. We can record the music track and have her sing live. Tara leaned back. We'd need to time it perfectly. You'd have to get in without tipping anyone off. I'll come late, I said. Let her think we're not coming. Then during the intermission, we roll her in and press play. Tara grinned. That could actually work. We started practicing that weekend. Emma didn't know the real reason. I told her it was for a school talent show. She lit up like a star. Every time the music started, She signed along with her whole heart, smiling the whole way through. Sometimes she would sing too, softly, a little off-key, but with so much love that it made my throat tighten. At one point, she looked up at me and asked, "Will there be people there?" I nodded. "A few." She hesitated, then said, "Will they clap for me?" I knelt beside her, brushing her curls away from her face. "They'll clap so loud it'll shake the walls," I whispered. She giggled. "Then I'll wear my shiny shoes." One night, after Emma had gone to bed, Tara and I were finalizing the music when my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "I heard you're still planning to come. I'm warning you, Lily, don't make this messy." I showed Tara the message. She scoffed. "She knows. Someone told her." I typed back, but paused before sending. Then I erased it. "Let her worry," I said instead. "She should." The next day, Tara pulled me aside, her face serious. "Listen," she said quietly, "I need to say this now before we're too deep in. Mom, she's threatening to cut you off from the family trust." I blinked. "She what?" "She told me if you make a scene, you're done. No inheritance. No access to emergency savings. Nothing." I stared at her, the words slow to sink in. "So what?" I said finally. "I stay quiet for money? For approval she's never actually given me." Tara exhaled. "I just wanted to be honest." I looked down at the floor, heart pounding. I wasn't rich. I lived paycheck to paycheck most months. That trust fund had always been an invisible safety net. But right now, that net felt like a leash. "If I don't do this now," I said, "Emma will grow up thinking she doesn't belong. And that's more dangerous than going broke." We kept going. Every night, Emma and I would rehearse. She chose her outfit, a pink dress with little sparkles on the hem. She called it her magic dress. We bought her silver shoes and a matching headband. Tara arranged for the music to play from her phone directly into the venue's sound system. We tested everything, timed it down to the second. One evening, I caught Emma standing in front of the mirror, mouthing the words to the song. She turned to me and said, "Mommy, do you think Grandma will clap?" I paused. Then I smiled. "You won't even hear her over the rest of the room." The night before the party, I barely slept. My nerves felt like they were wrapped around my ribs. But beneath the anxiety, there was something else. Hope. The night of the party, I waited outside the venue with Emma and Tara. The garden glowed in warm gold light. Strings of fairy lights wrapped around trees. A small stage stood near a trimmed hedge wall, where a cellist played soft music as guests clinked glasses. It looked like something out of a movie, but I couldn't stop shaking. I checked my watch. 8:13 p.m. intermission would begin in 7 minutes. Tara leaned in and whispered, "You good?" I nodded, but my hands were clammy. "We're ready." Emma sat beside me in her wheelchair, eyes wide with wonder. She looked like a dream. Sparkly pink dress, silver shoes, a flower pinned in her hair. "Mommy," she said quietly, "I'm not scared anymore." I smiled and squeezed her hand. "You're going to be amazing, baby." Inside the party, I could see my mom from the window. She was glowing in her champagne-colored gown, surrounded by guests, smiling like a queen. And why wouldn't she be? She thought we weren't coming. She thought she'd won. Tara stepped away to cue the music tech while I waited with Emma near the garden gate. At exactly 8:20, the string music stopped. The crowd started murmuring. A voice announced, "Please take your seats. We have a special surprise before the toast." That was our cue. Tara reappeared and gave me the nod. I wheeled Emma slowly toward the stage. People began turning. Heads tilted. Brows furrowed. I heard someone whisper, "Who is that?" Another voice said, "Is that Lily?" "Wait, she brought?" My mother stood frozen by the wine table, her eyes locked on us. Her smile vanished. She stepped forward, eyes darting, mouth opening like she might stop us. But it was too late. The music started. Emma rolled onto the stage as the lights dimmed. Her little hands moved like magic, dancing through the air with every word of the song. She signed with grace, her face glowing, her eyes locked on the crowd with calm. The garden fell silent. I could hear someone sniffling. Then another. A woman near the front clutched her chest, whispering, "Oh my God." Halfway through the song, I saw my mom moving again. She stepped toward the stage, her heels clicking hard on the stones. "Lily," she hissed under her breath, eyes burning. "What is this?" I stepped in front of her. "She's not ruining your party," I said, my voice calm but steel. "She's saving it." "You've embarrassed me," she said through clenched teeth. "In front of everyone." "No," I replied. "You did that the day you choose silence over love." She raised her hand like she might push past me, but then Tara stepped in. "Touch her, and I swear I'll drag you off that stage myself," Tara said, arms crossed, voice loud enough for those nearby to hear. People were watching now. Not just the performance, but us. The confrontation. The truth. The song ended. The final note echoed into the silence. And then applause. Thunderous, rising, unstoppable applause. People stood. Some clapped. Some cried. A man near the back whistled loudly. Emma beamed, her cheeks pink with joy. She looked toward me, eyes shining. Did they like it? I choked on the lump in my throat. They loved it. I turned to see my mother standing perfectly still, frozen in place. The crowd wasn't looking at her anymore. They were looking at Emma. And for the first time in her life, my daughter wasn't invisible. She was the moment. A woman from our extended family walked over. My Aunt Janice, who'd barely spoken to me since Emma was born. She wiped a tear and looked at my mom. "Shame on you, Darlene," she said. "That child is extraordinary." My mom opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out, just a shallow breath. She turned, picked up her glass, and walked away without saying another word. Tara let out a breath. "Well," she whispered, "I think the party just changed." I laughed quietly. This party was never hers to begin with. Tara looked at Emma, who was now getting hugs from two women we barely knew. "You're right," she said, smiling. "It's hers now." Emma waved at me from the stage. "Mommy, did I do good?" I walked up and wrapped my arms around her. "You did perfect," I whispered into her hair. "Absolutely perfect." And for the first time in a very, very long time, I didn't feel like a daughter trying to prove something. I felt like a mother who finally won. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. At first, I thought it was just a few messages from my family. But when I opened my notifications, I froze. The video. Someone had recorded Emma's entire performance. It was already spreading online. Hundreds of views. Then thousands. The caption read, "Little girl with disability surprises garden party with the most beautiful performance." I scrolled through the comments. I'm sobbing. "She's an angel. How could anyone not want her there? That mother is a hero." I blinked, heart racing. People weren't just watching it. They were feeling it. They were asking who Emma was, where they could hear more, what her story was. Within a few hours, the video hit over 100,000 views. That's when the other clip surfaced. The other recording, Tara's backup from earlier in the week. The one with my mother's voice. It wasn't meant for anyone else to hear. But someone leaked it. Her words echoed loud and clear across the screen. People paid for elegance, not pity. She'll always be a burden. There was no taking it back. The backlash came fast. Family friends who once worshipped her started messaging me privately, apologizing. My mom's old charity board asked her to step down. Someone even posted a side-by-side comparison of Emma's performance and my mom's quote. It was brutal. And honestly, it was fair. I got a call from her 2 days later. She didn't even say hello. Why did you let that video go viral? She snapped. I paused, then answered softly. I didn't let anything. People saw the truth. You humiliated me. I swallowed the lump in my throat. You did that yourself. There was silence on the other end. For once, she didn't have a comeback. I waited, but all she said was, You've made your choice. Then she hung up. That night, Emma sat on the floor, surrounded by little note cards. People had sent letters, actual letters from all over. One from a teacher in Texas. Another from a girl in Canada who also used a wheelchair. Emma looked up at me, beaming. Mommy, they wrote to me. I knelt beside her, running my fingers over the handwriting. They saw you, baby. The real you. She tilted her head. Even Grandma? I paused. Then I said, maybe. But if she didn't, that's her loss. Emma nodded, then whispered, I liked being on stage. Can I do it again someday? I smiled. You can do it whenever you want. I didn't post the videos. I didn't leak the audio. But I didn't stop it either. Because for the first time, the world didn't just look at Emma and see a wheelchair. They saw her heart. And they loved it. It's been 6 months since the party. Since that night. Since my daughter claimed a stage meant to erase her. And everything has changed. My mother hasn't spoken to me since that last call. Not once. No apology. No check-ins. No, I was wrong. Just silence. A few relatives still talk to her, but most don't.
Some were horrified.
Others are embarrassed. A few stayed quiet, but that silence said enough. I stopped trying to fix the damage she caused. I started protecting what mattered. Emma.
And Emma? She's blossomed.
That one performance turned into something none of us expected. A local nonprofit that works with kids with disabilities reached out a few days after the video went viral. They invited Emma to join their adaptive theater program. She cried when I told her. You mean, I'd be on stage again? She asked, bouncing in her seat. As many times as you want, I said, laughing. Since then, she's performed in 3 showcases. She knows how to sign entire songs now, new ones, old ones she picks herself. She even sings out loud more now. Louder. Braver. She still wears the silver shoes from the party, like they're glass slippers. And every time she steps into the spotlight,
she shines.
As for me, something cracked open that night too. For years, I thought setting boundaries was the same as closing doors. I thought saying no to my mother meant losing the last of my family.
But I didn't lose my family.
I found it. In Emma's eyes. In Tara's quiet loyalty. In the messages from strangers who told me our story helped them speak up, too. In people who said, thank you for not letting her be invisible. That's more family than blood ever gave me. One morning, I got a letter. It was from my mom. I recognized her handwriting instantly. Still neat, still perfect, like everything else she showed the world. I didn't open it right away. It sat on the kitchen counter for 3 days while I stared at it like it might bite. When I finally did open it, it was short. Just a few sentences. You embarrassed me. But I realize now, I embarrassed myself more. I still don't agree with how you handled it, but I do see that Emma is special. I hope someday we can talk again. No apology. No real accountability. Just the faintest crack in the wall she'd built her whole life. I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer, and left it there. Maybe someday, Emma will want to read it. Maybe not. But right now, she has everything she needs. One evening, a few weeks ago, we walked into a packed auditorium for the latest performance. Emma was backstage with her little castmates, getting her hair pinned and lip gloss dabbed. I stood in the back, waiting for the lights to dim. That's when someone tapped my shoulder. It was Janice, my mom's cousin. She looked nervous, holding her purse like a shield. I saw the video again last week, she said quietly. Still gives me chills. I nodded politely. Thank you. We had no idea, she continued. About how your mom treated her. I didn't answer. What could I say? They did know.
Maybe not all of it.
But enough. When the lights went down and the first note of music played, the audience quieted instantly. And then there she was. Emma rolled onto the stage in a blue dress this time, hair tied up in a sparkly ribbon. She signed the lyrics with soft hands and strong eyes. She didn't miss a beat. The spotlight hit her just right, turning the glitter in her dress into stars. People sat frozen. Some cried. Others just stared, wide-eyed. And me? I pressed a hand to my chest and let the tears come. Not from sadness. From pride.
From peace.
When the final note ended, the crowd erupted. A full standing ovation.
Kids.
Adults.
Parents.
Teachers. Even a woman in a wheelchair near the front wiped her eyes with shaking hands. I made my way to the stage entrance. As the curtain fell, Emma rushed toward me, her smile wide, arms out. "Did I do okay?" she asked, eyes sparkling. "Okay." I laughed, pulling her into my arms. "You flew, baby." "I didn't fall once," she giggled. "You never have," I whispered. "Not where it counts." Later that night, after the celebration ended and the auditorium emptied, we sat on the quiet stage together. Emma leaned against me, sleepy but happy, her legs dangling from her chair. The lights above had dimmed, but one spotlight stayed on, casting a soft glow across the stage floor. She pointed toward it. "That light feels warm," she said, her voice soft. "It's meant for people like you," I told her. She looked up at me. "Like me?"
Yeah.
"People who shine so bright, the world has no choice but to look." And in that quiet moment, with the empty rows before us and the echo of applause still ringing in my ears, I realized something. This story didn't end with revenge. It ended with a rise. With a little girl who was once called a burden becoming someone others now look up to. With a mother who stopped begging to be accepted and instead chose to raise a child who would never need to be. My mom didn't clap for her that night, but the world did.
And that
was more than enough. That night, she didn't just dance. She flew. This story isn't just fiction. It's a reminder that every child deserves to be seen, loved, and celebrated. If this moved you, subscribe for more powerful stories that shine a light on what truly matters.